welcome back to the table. I'm Caleb, and I have a voice today.
Let's go.
Boom.
So good.
This is Taylor.
I'm so glad it's back. I'm Taylor.
And he spoke for me when I didn't have a voice.
Wow. Yeah. It's so sweet.
And welcome to the table. If you're
Yes.
new here, we hang around and we talk anything from Jesus to Jesus.
I love Jesus.
And I love Jesus.
Yeah, me too. It's pretty great.
I have to tell you something. Okay.
Huh.
I called somebody yesterday,
Okay.
and they had the most awesome voicemail.
What was it?
They said, "Hi, you've reached Don and Jesus." Said, if you're trying to reach Don, leave a message. If you're trying to reach Jesus, hang up and start speaking.
Oh
I loved it, dude. I was like, yeah, I about hung up.
Are you kidding?
I was about like, yep, sorry. I'll
I got
talk to you
all I
later.
needed.
I loved it, man. I thought it was so awesome. But anyway, it was amazing voicemail. So random, yeah. But
I love that guy.
Yeah, it was so
I
great.
haven't even met him, but I love him.
It was so great. So anyway, at the table, we have conversation, we talk, and the table is about gathering together and life around it. And when I was growing up, we had a lot of conversations around the table, and so that's what we're doing is come to the table. Anybody and everybody is welcome.
Yep.
And the way that we kind of structure it is we have an appetizer to begin, something kind of fun, something kind of light, and then we have an entree, which is more like here's the meal, and then we have a dessert, which is something sweet that we get to leave with, and hopefully you want to come back.
My appetite is ready.
Yes, like you remember growing up in like grandma's apple pie, like the good dessert, and you're like, I can't wait to get to grandma's house.
So Grammy, she had brownies.
Oh, dude, yes.
Okay, and they had these. So it wasn't just brownies, and the brownies itself were good.
Were they special brownies?
And then she would take caramel.
Oh yes, dude.
And make 4 lines, and then she would take a knife and do the swirl thing, and then if it was a really good day, you'd put some salt on there. Oh my God.
Okay. And that's the end of the podcast. So thank you for joining us. Anyway, yeah, so that sounds amazing. I remember when I was at my grandma's, we got together every Tuesday night at the table, and we would have dinner. Her thing she would always make, like that was like Mama's staple, was beef and noodles. Oh, I love beef and noodles. Like that was Mama's thing, and I would love beef and noodles. But then it was always so exciting for me because she always, like almost always, had ice cream, and I loved ice cream. We didn't have ice cream a lot at our house growing up.
Yeah.
When we did, it was a super special treat. But when we went to Mama's house, like ice cream cone, and I just love that. It keeps you coming back. Between that and she had cable. So we could watch Nickelodeon. She knew what she was doing. We could watch Nickelodeon and everything else. We had, over the air channels. And so, that was Mama's house. We loved Mama's house. And so it was awesome. But anyway, so today we're talking about, today's title is Let's Get Personal.
Let's get personal.
And we're going to talk about a few different things, but maybe start off, Tay, if you wouldn't mind to tell us your deep and most personal secrets. No, don't do that.
No.
Just thank you for that boundary. Tell us something about yourself, maybe your spiritual life or a story from your childhood or something like that.
What if I did both?
2 for 1 deal.
Oh my gosh. Aren't you lucky? Growing up, I grew up in church, and I loved church. Like I was there on Sunday mornings, and I would get involved like on Wednesday nights in youth group, and I was there for prayer meeting and cleaning team and like all this stuff. Like I was there. Yeah. And every once in a while, probably like once a quarter, we would have a guest speaker come in, and these guest speakers, it's just nice to hear a different perspective and hear different voices because I don't know, that's just cool. But as a kid, I really looked up to these people, and I still do. I highly revere them. And, because I was pastor's grandkid, I think I got some special treatment, Okay. But, I don't doubt the things that the Lord said through them. But I would look at these people, and they would give me prophecies and that kind of stuff. And I appreciate them, what they spoke over my life. But it's been interesting growing up, and I'm still in church. Yeah. And I still have relationships. And I have these people's phone numbers and that kind of stuff. And it's weird how it's like, okay, as a kid, you were like Jesus. And not like you were like Jesus, like the characteristics, which they do, but it's like you're God level.
Yeah. The pedestal you put him on.
Yes. And then now here I am, and it's like, oh wait, now I know more about you, and I'm building a relationship with you, and still God has done incredible things. So it doesn't take away the sparkle of Jesus, but it's like, it's interesting to see that pedestal that you put somebody on.
Yeah.
And it's not like the pedestal's crumbled. It's just like,
Right.
I just see you differently now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's an interesting dynamic when you don't know somebody. It's like you automatically elevate them to a position because you don't know them that like they say something spiritual and you're like, oh, what great revelation. And then like your mom or dad would say that same exact thing. And you'd be like, yeah, whatever, mom. Like, you know, like you just dismiss it because it's mom and dad, like, or it's your friend or, you know, it's your, you know, it's whoever, because of that familiarity that you have there. And I always appreciate so much the people who are able to lay down that familiarity. Like they can know you and know you intimately, but still be able to receive what God has, you know, in your life, the anointing that has on your life and the revelation and the truth that can be produced out of you. I so appreciate the people who can do that because that's special. You know, Jesus had that issue, obviously, you know, it says he could barely do hardly anything in his own hometown because of how they saw him. You know, that's little Joe's boy. Like he's a carpenter's boy, you know, isn't that, we know him. Yeah. He's nothing, like, you know, and which is interesting to me, the irony of that, because you would think that the people that have chosen to spend their life with you and to connect with you, or like even like your parents, you know, to watch over you and to train you up and all that, you would think that those are the ones who they've invested themselves in you. So obviously there's a care there that they would be the ones you would be willing to hear from. But instead it's like the stranger who you don't know, who you haven't had time to form an opinion about, who you haven't seen in their worst moments, who you know, like they're the ones that get the airtime, you know, and they're the ones that it's acceptable. And it just, to me, it's interesting because I think you can have parents who can have absolutely wonderful revelation. You can also have parents who don't. And you can have strangers who have amazing revelation from God and strangers who don't. You know, I think it's just important that we continue to we put ourselves in that place of humility. Yeah,
because I'm listening for Jesus.
Say, Father, I'm listening. I want to see you. And like what you said, I see Jesus in them. Like it doesn't take away the sparkle of Jesus and the anointing that's on their life just by getting to know them. And I think that can be one of the greatest dangers that we face, you know, as people is you start to get to know us and it's like, oh yeah, it takes away the sparkle of Jesus. No, it hopefully should illuminate even more Jesus. Right. You know, like, so I just, that's
honor's a decision.
Yeah. That's good. Say that.
Honor is a decision. Write that down, class. Thank you.
I love it. I love it. I heard somebody say one time about talking about honor is that most people are quick to honor themselves in other people.
Yes.
And so it's like, I can honor you because you look like me.
You look like me. Yeah.
I like what's in you because it looks like me, therefore I can honor it. Instead of learning how to love, how to honor people who don't look like you.
How anti-Jesus. Like,
it's crazy, isn't it?
I mean, what was it? Philippians, where it's like you need to esteem others, or like you need to value others.
Yeah. So for me, with you know, talking about getting personal, when I was a kid, we were just sharing this story actually earlier today. I hadn't thought about this in a while, and it just kind of came back to me. But when I was a kid, I love the drums. I played the drums, and actually had a guy lay hands on me, gave me my first drum set, laid hands on me. He played professionally with some pretty big name artists. And he laid hands on me, and I remember him carrying me around in my basement, and he laid hands on me, and he just prayed, God, whatever I've got, give it to him. That's so sweet. It was, I mean, just amazing. And I have had a passion for drums for a long time, and but as a kid and growing up, I was so afraid and so anxious and nervous to play in front of people that I literally told my mom, I will never play for anyone except for you and for my friends in this closet, like in my room. And that was it. Like I was not doing it. And I remember going to youth camp one year, and I was in 7th grade, and Brandon Hart was playing drums, and I watched him, and I remember thinking, I like this guy. He plays with passion like me. He loves the drums. He's really good. And I'm like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do what he's doing. I want to imitate him. Like, I want to do that. And from that point, it was like that fear thing was broken off. And I left the youth camp, and I was like, I told our youth pastor, Rick, I said, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready. And he knew me and he knew my family. We were a musical family, and he knew I could play. So he was like, come on, let's go. And so I started playing for the youth, and then I got better and better and better, and I tried out for the big team, big church. Yeah. And began to play there. And then throughout high school, I ended up being like the only drummer, and I played every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, every Wednesday night, and then every other Friday night service that we had. And so I played a ton. I played so much, and I loved it. And then I would end up going on and getting to play in front of thousands and thousands of people, in stadiums.
Right.
And it all comes back to this moment of like, I see Brandon and I'm like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And it snaps and it broke something in me, but it took that to get me out of that place that I was at.
Right.
Initially of that place of fear, and to transition me into this other place. And God had big plans for my life.
Yeah.
Which is incredible. That's what he does.
Incredible. Yeah. And Brandon probably, it was no like
I don't even know if Brandon knows that.
Right.
Yeah,
it wasn't an intentional thing. No. It wasn't a prayer. Well, prayers aren't bad, but it wasn't a prayer or anything like that. The deliverance happened because he was living in what he was called to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And he exactly. That's exactly right. He was just, it wasn't like we were friends.
Sure.
It wasn't like, he wasn't a buddy of mine. Like I just knew who he was. But it was just watching him. And I think that's such a cool testimony of like, you just don't know who's watching your life,
right?
And the impact that you can have in somebody's life. I mean, that drastically changed the direction of my life.
Literally.
Yeah. You
toured professionally.
I toured professionally. I developed relationships. Like that changed my life. Yeah. And it was because I watched somebody and it was just like this thing snapped off, and you don't know who is watching.
Nope.
And the kind of impact that you can have, that you will have on their life, even unknowingly.
Right.
Wow.
So good.
Takes a moment just to think about that for a second.
Yeah.
So share, let's, that was kind of a little bit of a long appetizer, but also maybe kind of entree-ish.
Sure.
Share with us a little bit about you and your journey. You've had a lot of, I'm talking about, let's get personal. You've had a lot of big life changes.
Yes.
You've moved, you moved down here. You just bought a house, and you guys are like, you just turned 27.
Yes.
So you just had a birthday. So share maybe a little bit like about your journey and what that looks like.
Yeah. So growing up, I grew up in church. My grandfather started church, and it was just like a thing, and I loved it. I wasn't one of the pastor's grandkids or anything that like begrudged going to church.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember a time where I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. Like I've always wanted to be involved, and I learned and the love grew, I want to say kind of like I'm going to say the Little C church. Like I loved worship. I loved the possibility of one day getting to preach. I loved the opportunity maybe one day to lead. I loved that kind of thing. That's what kind of really drew me, and that kind of beauty. And of course I looked up to my grandfather and all of that, and the other men and women of God, like elders and those sorts of things. So coming into like adulthood, like that kind of desire and hunger, it's only going to last for so long. And because I did it, like, that's the thing. I did it.
Yeah.
So I started, I was on staff 2017 was when I became full-time.
Yeah.
And my title was, are you ready? Pastor's assistant. So I always think of like Dwight, assistant to the regional manager. Manager. And that's no flack or anything. That's hilarious. That's exactly what it was. And
identity theft is not a joke, Jim.
Right. And I remember like kind of the feeling of walking into my office that was empty and setting it up the way I wanted. And just like this huge sense of achievement. Like I'm here.
Yeah.
This is something that I've wanted to do my whole life.
Right.
Like they asked me in kindergarten what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah.
No, first grade. And I said a pizza delivery guy and a pastor.
Come on.
Wow.
And you pastor in the youth. You get to be both of those things.
I know.
Yes.
I call mozzarellas.
I love it.
So that like, it's literally been a desire of my heart from like a child, and getting into that place of like, that was one moment, like getting my office together and that kind of stuff was like, holy crap, like this is happening. Yeah. And then I think it was 2 years later, I got ordained. That was another one. You were there,
I remember.
Apostle Bob and a few others were there. And that was another moment. I was like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful. Sorry, like the Lord's been so sweet. He has been sweet to me my whole life. I'm becoming more aware of it. And even in that heart position of, I love the church and I love the organization and I want to do all I can so that people hear the gospel. He used me. And fruit was still brought about because the shift has been we've always, like in church, because I'm trying to be careful because Cornerstone, like they do preach, relationship and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm coming into a complete different revelation of it. I've been like seeking the Lord for the spirit of revelation and the wisdom of knowledge of him. Like that's where I've been in the past, like few weeks. And he's been revealing so much to me about how like the spirit stuff, it's becoming real. His love towards me, it's becoming real. His heart towards me, it's becoming real. This faith thing, it's becoming real.
Yeah.
And it's not that I haven't walked in those at times and had moments of revelation, but it's like, no, this is my heart towards you.
Yeah.
Like this is not going anywhere. Like hell cannot take this away from, like the blood hasn't seen anything that it can't conquer. Like there's been so much that it's just becoming real. And I think there's something to be said about like coming into this place because I grew up in one culture and then I came into another culture. So not only are we talk about Jesus and he's the same guy,
right? But
the way that we may implement what he teaches, maybe like it may look a little different.
Sure.
So I was really, I don't know the idiom, but holding on to your coattail or something like that.
Yeah.
But I was really, grasping and leeching onto you because I needed to know and learn the language of this house and our perspective and the way that we look at things. And it's one thing to re-say what has been said. It's another thing to re-say what the Father has told me.
Yeah. Say that. That's good.
So that's where I'm at, Caleb. And it's,
that's personal.
That's where I'm at. I'm getting to the place where it's like, because it feels like I've been here before, but it was in a way, but this feels like a complete other way that I'm in this season that I'm in. It's like, no, like the Father told me this morning.
Yeah.
And yes, I operated in that before and it's not, and I'm going to say what Jesus said. It was like, and fruit still became of it. It's like, this is coming from a different place in my heart.
Right.
There's been a huge shift in me that is now like, okay, the well is now sweet. Yeah. There's not bitter and sweet. Right. It is sweet. And that transformation is still, it's going to be ongoing. Yeah. But it was really freaking hard because there's a lot of flesh that has to die to get there. Like the flesh has to be crucified. Yeah. That's it gets left out of the gospel when people say it sometimes, but there is a crucifixion that you do walk through. Yeah. And it's real, but it brings life. Like he doesn't just kill these things to just leave it dead. Right. He's sowing things to bring life. And that's what I'm seeing.
That's so good, dude. I love it. Like because hearing you talk, it sounds, we share a similar story in that we both were raised in the culture of church. We've been around the organization of what it is. Yeah. And we share the same desire and heart of, I want to be part of something like that. You see the community of it, you see the effectiveness of it, and you're like, I want to be part of that. And then you hit this moment in your life of the reality of Jesus. Of the person of like, this is what it's all about. It's like, Jesus and like, yes, like you're the savior of my life and I welcome you into my heart. And like as a kid,
and it was all authentic.
And those
the
are all
authentic
absolutely.
And the leading and all that, it was real.
Right. But it's like, it's like, now I want to show, like, it's almost as, and I don't want to be crass in this, but it's almost as if like you transition from, hey, I was introduced to you as friends to now, hey, you're my bride. Like I know you in a deeper and way more intimate way than I did before. And it's like becoming real in that sense. And now it's not just like a a dutiful, like I'm doing these things because it's the right thing to do, and the Bible says to do this, and I'm loving my neighbor because that's what Jesus said I should do,
Right.
and it's like my commandment that I have to live by. It's like it shifts from that point of like I'm doing this out of my obedience and what is right and what is good to I'm doing this because this is you.
And
it's like
now
and this is now me.
Yes.
And this is us together. And it's like you have transformed my life to this place now of whoa, I'm not trying to just be like you are me in me, and we are one and all of this, and you're teaching me to become this way. And like you're like it is a total shift in your mindset.
It changes everything.
It does. It does. And it like you said, you described it's a really sweet place. It's really tender, and it's an offering, like it's a fragrant offering. I just keep thinking like this smell, like this is a sweet aroma of my life.
Yeah.
And man, it's so beautiful. Like
that's where I'm at right now.
I love that.
Me too.
I love that.
It's so much better.
As a kid, did you put a lot of, I mean, you already mentioned it a little bit, like you put some emphasis on, the guest speakers and the pastor, and like were in your mind, were you like, I want to be like that? Like, you said catching on like my coattails, like what you said, I want to be like that. What was it for you that like, how did you go from, I want to be like that, and like I'm riding on your coattails, like almost like we describe it as like, I'm living off my parents' faith.
Yes. Yep.
To this transitional place of like, I will listen to you. You can impart into my life. You can speak into me, but it's a dynamic shift of now I don't feel like I'm like holding on for dear life to like, now it's you and me, Jesus. Like it's our relationship together. Because I think that's a really important piece for a lot of people to get. Like, let me just say this real quick while you're thinking about that. I was praying the other day and I was just listening to the Lord, and this thought popped into my head, which was, essentially a lot of people are making pastors modern day Moseses.
Yeah, they
like
are.
Pastors are becoming this modern day Moses. And basically the thought that came in my head was Jesus saying like, or Holy Spirit saying like, why would you make your pastor a modern day Moses when Jesus is available? And I was like, so I just start to like dive into that place of what do you mean by making your pastor a modern day Moses? The thought that I was thinking about was like, no, Moses, you go up, you talk to God. Because when Moses led Israel out of Egypt, God wanted to make them like his original design and intent was like, I want to make you a nation of kings and priests. I want you to rule and have dominion, and I want you to govern righteously. Like, this is what I have established for you and for my children. This is what I want for them. And it's like when presented with that, the kids are like, it would be better. We would like it more if like Moses, if you could just go up. Like all we know is slavery mentality.
Exactly.
All we know is really how to be told what to do. And we're not ready to govern. We're not ready to lead. We're not ready to be kings. We're orphans. We're slaves. And so it's like, it would be better for us if like Moses, if you could just go take care of that for us. You go talk to God. You be like a mediator in between us. And then you come and you just tell us what to do. And so, Moses reluctantly agrees to that kind of a thing. And I was thinking about that context of today with pastors and with ministers and with ministry, and how so often people will settle for that place because they don't realize their sonship, because they don't realize they're all they know is this orphan slavery kind of a mindset of Egypt, of my oppression. This is what I've known. This is how I've dealt with these addictions and this other this is all that I know. And so I settle for this place of, Pastor, you go and I'm going to come in on Sunday, and what I want you to do is I want you to just tell me like how I'm supposed to live, when this entire time there's a relationship that is available to you. Yeah. That is what you're describing as this sweet place of freedom and of oneness and of revelation and of communion with Jesus. So I guess the question is two questions. One is, why make your pastor a modern day Moses? Or are you doing that? And two, how did you, Taylor, like transition from that place of, I'm watching them do it to, no, I'm taking ownership of this. I want that.
Yeah. Why would people do it? I'm going to put on my pastor heart because I've been operating a lot of prophetic, and usually it could come out sharp. So what I want to do is I want to paint you guys the picture of what you can have access to, because Kaleb, it's easier. It's a lot less work. If I were just to listen to your Sunday morning message, and I'll pick and choose what I want, and I'll be out.
I think that's the nail of the head right there. Like, this is just easier for me.
Yeah. I'm going to outsource. All of this. I have a great idea. Jesus, I have a great idea. I came to you. I gave you my life. So I'll continue going to church. And what I'll also do is, I'll hear my pastor, but we'll apply what you tell me to.
The eye of that needle is really small.
Yeah. And then Jesus, coat my words in your oil. The needs of the church that I see or have been told about, I may or I may not live out the faith that you call me to walk in. Not only spiritually, but physically.
So you're saying, as a participant in church, I see things going on, but I'm unwilling to actually participate in being part of that solution.
Yeah.
It's more of someone else will take care of that.
Sounds like work to me, and I work a lot. You're a professional Christian.
Okay, yeah.
Right. Like you're at church all the time.
Right.
That's why you're here.
That's what we pay the pastor for.
Right. And we have you, and we have Miriam, and we have Taylor, and we have, Aaron's here one day a week, and we have Julie.
Right.
So I think it's probably covered.
Yeah.
I think we're good. Great. I'm gonna go home. Bye, guys.
Right.
Go empower people for the gospel. And that's what I was thinking about when we were talking about the pastor thing. Right. Our job is just to equip.
Yeah.
And I don't say just to diminish it. I say that to simplify it, because there's a lot of tasks that we do, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And our job is to equip the people for the work of the ministry.
Yeah. There's a lot of scripture.
Hang on. We equip people for the work.
Right.
It's not just giving them the gospel.
Yep.
There's a huge shift here, and there's a huge invitation, and I'm glad to be walking in it.
I love hearing you say this.
You do?
Yeah, I just love hearing it.
Great.
I think,
I'm glad saying it.
Well, but I think, what you're talking about is this is an American church pandemic kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like, you got COVID as a pandemic, but this is also this is a paralyzation of the universal church in this regard. And this is a very blanket statement. This is a very blanket statement, because there are pockets of churches who don't operate in this way. I'm thankful to say that our church, we have people who are very willing.
Extremely blessed.
We're extremely blessed in this, but this is also a culture that we've cultivated.
Yeah.
And worked toward. And even before us, this was the mentality of the attitude is not, this is what we pay the preacher for. The attitude is, no, you are being trained for the works of service. You are a masterpiece. You're God's handiwork, created for good works that you should walk in them. The element of the Christian life is you're created for this so that you get to walk in this. You get to walk this out and not be lazy in this. And I think that's part of the fathering mentality of, and even part of the apostolic culture of a need.
For sure.
And you want to call it shepherding. You can call it whatever you want. You can put whatever label on it you want. That's fine. But ultimately it comes down to this place of a father calling you out of this place of, hey, look, I'm teaching you how to do this. I'm going to show you how. And when the time is right for you, you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I learned so much in life because my dad was like, hey, come on.
Let's go.
And a lot of times I didn't want to do it. No, I'd rather lay around. I'd rather you do it, Dad. But that's not what a good father does. And it's not what a good spiritual leader will do either. A good spiritual leader will hold you accountable to your destiny.
Yep.
They'll call you out and they'll say, come on, you're going to come do this. Come with me. Let's go pray.
Yeah.
Come with me. Let's go visit these people. Come on, I'm going to give you these opportunities. I know that it's hard. I know that it's inconvenient.
Sure.
That's okay. It was inconvenient for Jesus to go to the cross, but yet he did it. Why? Because he loves you.
Right.
And that love is residing within you. Let's die. Like you talked about the crucifixion. The crucifixion It's got to die. The flesh got to die.
It's a process.
Like, this is part of it, man.
Yes.
And I say this like, it may come off as stronger, but it like, or more edgy, but like, this is it. Like, this is it. Jesus, you have come to show us what it is like to live this way and to love this way, because your love is action. And if my expectation as a son or as a daughter is like, no, that's what we pay the pastor for, then man, I'm going to miss out on the good works that I was created for. And not only am I going to miss out on that, the others that I was going to impact, I think about this. What if Brandon Hart had said, you know what, I'm good. I'm not going to play drums this year at youth camp. Then I would have missed out on that.
Right.
But instead, he chose to walk in that good work that was prepared for him.
Yep.
The things, the desires, and the selflessness to say, you know what, I'm going to serve in this. Yeah, it's going to cost me. It's going to cost me my time. I'm going to have to go and I'm going to have to practice. I'm going to have to go. I'm going to show up. I'm going to go teach a youth camp, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And because he did it, my life was impacted in that.
Yeah.
And I think, man, I don't want the church to be robbed of the things that, like, we think about, like, God, what's our destiny? What's our purpose? And yet so many are unwilling to make any kind of effort.
The mystery has been revealed.
Oh man, don't even get me started on that one.
It's in black and white. Like, go read it.
That's a pet peeve for me, is like, the mind has not seen, or eye has not seen, or ear has heard the things that God has planned for that. Except that if you read the next verse, it says, except that it's been revealed to us by the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
Like, here it is, right? And here. There's the mystery of the gospel. It's Christ in you, the hope of glory. Like, here it is. It's not mysterious in this. It's right here. He's not hiding. Like, sorry, I get excited. You see my voice is,
I heard it.
Still kind of going.
Love it.
I got to bring it down here. So I think, and here's the thing. I think that there is a point where you are imitating somebody.
It's necessary.
And it's necessary. Paul says, imitate me as I imitate Christ.
Yep.
Right? So it's necessary, just as my kids, like, I'm going to train you in this way. I'm going to bring you up in this way. And I want you to watch what I'm doing. And then I want you to do it. Jesus did the same thing. He's like, watch what I do. And then I'm going to send you out. And then you're going to come back. We're going to critique it. And then we're going to do it again.
Yeah.
Like, there's this process that takes place here, right? But there's this imitation of revelation. So like, I hear my pastor say something, I'm like, oh man, like, even for myself, I hear guys speaking, I'm like, oh, that's so good revelation. Like, boom, I want to imitate that. I want to, I'm going to parrot that. I want to repeat that, because that's great revelation. I want to share that. But there's also an invitation into revelation, which is, come and find out for yourself my goodness.
Right.
Which is, I think, the place that you're in right now.
Yes.
Is the invitation into that place of revelation of saying, Taylor, come and see how amazing I am. And let me show you how good I am towards you. Let me show you who you are in me.
And it's not duty.
It's not it's not duty.
It's not.
It's honor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, come here, let me teach you. Let me teach you what you're like. Let me teach you how to live, how to move, how to have let me show you. Let me show you what abundant life looks like.
Right.
Because I've got some really good things for you. Like,
he has so much. And I was thinking about, like you said, you were talking about the bride and how, I want to say, like, the secret's out and that church isn't about Sunday.
Yeah.
And I think, as far as in the American culture, it's been like that for a season. And just because one church does something shady does not mean that all churches are shady.
Absolutely. Just because your one experience was this way does not mean everything is.
And this isn't my experience. But I know that there are experiences where it was really handy for the pastor to make it out to seem like I'm the God man.
Sure.
And it takes a good spiritual leader to say, no, I'm not, like, I don't have a monopoly on the revelation of God. And I want you to get your own. And that's where I'm at.
And I want to teach you how to get that.
And so I
want to teach you how to get that.
Because here's the thing, it feels good for people to think really high of you because you have such a good relationship with God. Like, that can pamper an area of your flesh that's like, oh yeah.
Yep.
Getting attention.
Yep.
I'm getting accolades. I'm getting honor. I'm getting, the way I get this is by putting a veil over the bride so that she doesn't see Jesus, and that she only sees Jesus through me.
You got to come through me. Yeah.
So I'm the mediator of the mediator. It's bullcrap.
It is. And it's our job to teach others, like you said, how to hear, to have that relationship. Why would you make your pastor Moses when Jesus is available? It's our job as spiritual leaders to say, come to Jesus. And I think maybe we could transition here to dessert.
I wanted to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Because I think you had to force me out just a little bit.
I have put you in uncomfortable situations.
And those were uncomfortable.
Like uncomfortable to your
my flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm thankful for it because I wouldn't be crying on my office floor seeking the Lord if it weren't for it. So I'm thankful to have this. Thank you.
I love you.
I love you.
So I think a good kind of really cool picture of this is actually found in the Mount of Transfiguration. And actually, before I even get there, I want to share this picture of what you were just talking about, and something that somebody taught me, again, because this is kind of a teaching moment even for me, and maybe hearing this, if you're a spiritual leader, or if you're someone who has impacted somebody's life.
We're all spiritual leaders too.
Yes,
right?
yes. But when somebody, this was just a cool, I don't even remember where I heard this, but basically they said, when someone compliments you in this, maybe it's like, hey, you impacted my life, or hey, that sermon was really good, or something like that. That is like them handing a bouquet to you. And a lot of people's natural reaction is like, oh, no, it was all God, and no, like you almost reject that when they're trying to be sincere in this,
sure,
right? But you were like, I don't want to get prideful and arrogant. I want to stay humble. And someone shared this picture with me. I just thought it was so beautiful, which was they're bringing you a bouquet, accept the bouquet, and then turn around and lay it at the feet of Jesus and say, this is for me.
This is you.
This is for you. Yeah. Everything, like Paul, everything that I do, this is for the glory of God. Jesus says that when you ask in my name, I'll answer. You'll see this happen all for the glory of God, like all for Father to be glorified, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. Like that's exactly what it is, that in these kinds of sweet moments we thank God for this.
We do. That
this is what it is, and it's lay that bouquet down at his feet. So cool point maybe to take away, but transitioning into the dessert, this reminds me a lot of the Mount of Transfiguration, where you have these three disciples accompanying Jesus, and God is revealing to them who he is, right? And as he's doing this, you see Moses and you see Elijah, and those people were
big guys
from the Jewish culture. This is who we would imitate. Like these are our dudes, right? Yeah. Like these are the guys. Like these are the preachers of preachers. Like these are our leaders. Be like these guys, right? Like so that's who that is. And so much so that Peter opens his mouth, which is just hilarious. We love Peter, and he's like, it's good for us to be here. and he's like, we should build an altar to these people. Like we should do this. Like we got to build 3 here. And you could just see him like laying this out, right? And then you hear your Father, and he's like, Peter, be quiet. He says, here's my son, Jesus. Hear him. Like that word, hear him. That you may have had Moses's and Elijah's made available to you all of your life, but here's Jesus, hear him. Here's Jesus, hear him. They point to him. Everything should point to him. It comes back to Jesus.
Exactly.
Hear him. And I think that's a word for us today, like even as we leave here, like a way to look at your own spiritual life and say, have I spiritually outsourced myself?
Yeah.
Like, have I thought, oh, the pastor's going to take care of that, or other people are going to take care of that. I'm not going to take any kind of like personal responsibility. The pastor's going to fulfill all the needs. They're going to go meet with people. They're going to go, I don't have to check on my neighbor. The pastor should be calling them, right. Like outsourcing, or maybe you're imitating that person, right? You're imitating the pastor because you see the value in that.
But this season is calling you to move forward. I think that's the sin. The sin is not just imitating someone, because that's necessary.
Right.
It's staying there.
It's to the point where that's all that there is, that they've become my Moses now.
I say sin because it's missing the mark, because God's calling you into something, and it is disobedience.
Yeah.
And
it's
luckily,
just hear Father saying, be quiet.
Yeah.
Here's Jesus. Hear him. This is my son. Hear him. This is the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Hear him.
For you.
Like, hear him. And I think, and we're invited into this place of relationship. Like we say that, and I think sometimes it just gets caught up and like thrown about like relationship with you. But it truly is a point of a beautiful knowing of him intimately, personally.
Yep.
That it's not just like this education about him, like what you were talking about. It's not just being part of the organization or part of the community. It is this knowing intimately and deeply the God of the universe, the lover of my soul, who loves himself and who loves me and gave himself for me.
And that's everlasting life.
And that's yes.
Yeah.
And I'm new in that, and it transforms my life. And that's the invitation that's before us today. So let's get personal.
Yeah.
How personal is your relationship? Like, maybe that's the question. We all get to ask ourselves, where am I in this?
If the word relationship and all that is like kind of foggy to you, or I think a practical tip would be if you see someone that you revere or you like how they interact with the Lord and that kind of stuff, talk with them and ask to be like discipled, and put a time mark on that. Oh my gosh, there's some wisdom dropped by John Muratori, and he said discipleship has a timeline. Because if it just goes on forever, that's just a friend, and that's fine.
That's fine.
But define the relationship.
Yep.
Define the relationship.
There comes a point where you send.
Yeah.
You go.
So, yeah, that's what I would encourage you to do is if you feel lost in all of this and it seems really lofty, if there's someone that you honor and desire to be like, talk with them and
on the
have a relationship
on the
with
flip
them.
side of that, if you are one who has received people unto yourself, that they've come to you and they've said, hey, teach me, mentor me, help me, show me, lead me, that kind of a thing. Don't be afraid to push. Don't be afraid to, like, if you are afraid of losing them, then you're operating out of fear, so you're not going to love them properly. And two, you're not going to put them in positions where they might leave you. Jesus sent them out. They may have not come back. Like they could have gone out there and be like, I really like this. I'm going to start my own ministry. Okay. Like, and you as one who is discipling, as a Paul kind of a person, you've got to be okay with that, to release them, because you don't control them.
They were in your hands.
They are not yours. They are his.
Right.
And you got to be able to be willing to bring everything back to him.
Yep.
To release them. If you're a pastor of a church, you got to be able to release people. Let them go. Let them walk away. This isn't about you. Like, you get to steward them in this season of life, and you can bless them as they go. Don't hold on. Like, don't lose sleep over that. Don't hold on to them in that way.
No.
You can love them and release them in this. And sometimes he brings them back. I'm a full sign. Like, that's my testimony.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't. And that's okay.
That's okay. Because
this isn't about you and your ego. So if you need help, grab a 2x4, right? It's not about you. Keep it on your desk.
There you go.
That's what I got. That's what I got for you. Nuggets of wisdom. Boom, right
this,
there.
brownie had a little soy sauce in it. A little umami.
Yeah. So, love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for joining us at the table today.
Oh, you always have a seat here.
Bye.